Welcome everyone. My name is Thomas. I'm an admissions counselor with Virginia Tech, and we're going to talk with you today about some STEM opportunities and just some ways for you to get prepared for the next level coming to college. So we have the Colorado School of the Mines, Purdue University, University of Minnesota, and again, I'm from Virginia Tech. So thank you all for joining us today. Here's our agenda here. We're going to go through some high school preparation, just some things you need to be doing right now. And then we'll talk about some resources outside the classroom. Janai Downing from Purdue will go over that. And then finding the right college, Mackenzie Johnson will go over that. And then also success in year one with Rachel Tanner. So high school preparation, again, my name is Thomas, admissions counselor with Virginia Tech. Been there for about 2 months, so very happy to be here and try to help you guys along the way going to the next level. So we're going to start right here. I know this is very cliche. You've heard this all your life. Do well in school. You're going to want to study very hard. You need to put in the work now if you want to be successful at the next level. Some of the things that we're looking for from high school graduates, you're going to want to put the work in now, and we'll go over some more stuff like that later on. But also, if you're not doing well in your classes, that's okay. Just seek help. There are teachers at your school that want to help you. Just seek them after school. Then also your friends, check with them, see if you can get some tutoring help from them. But just make sure that if you're not doing well in your classes on your own, just seek help and get some extra explanation from that. Another piece here, turn in your work. I know it goes without saying, but if you have an assignment, turn it in. That's how you're going to get your grades. That's how we're going to evaluate you when it comes time for you to go to the next level, to come to college. So you're going to want to turn in your work. And then lastly, get involved. Find your niche. Find what it is you're interested in. I know at Virginia Tech, we have about 800 or 900 different clubs and organizations. So there are tons of opportunities to get involved. But right now is the time to figure out what it is you're interested in, not only club-wise and organization-wise, but also what you're going to be interested in career-wise. And we'll touch on majors and things like that later on as well. But moving on here. Something here, we get questions about this a lot at Virginia Tech. Test scores. At Virginia Tech, we're test optional this year. So what that means is if you've taken your scores, if you're not comfortable with your test scores, you do not have to submit your test scores. And if you don't submit them, I'm not sure about other universities, but for Virginia Tech, again, if you do not submit your test scores, we're not going to hold that against you. However, if you do submit them, we will take those into consideration. Quote unquote good test scores depend on the program that you're going to enter into. I know at Virginia Tech, if you want to go into a program like engineering or architecture, typically they're looking for a score around 680 or above for math in the SAT section, or about a 26 or above in math on the ACT section. Also at Virginia Tech, and I'm sure other schools as well, we super score. So basically, if you take the test multiple times, then whatever score you get on the different sections, we'll take the best of each section, no matter when it was you took the test. But again, just check with your schools that you're interested in to see if they're test optional. Academic rigor. So what academic rigor means is how hard your classes are, how much you're challenging yourself, and how well you're doing in those courses. So again, to kind of go back to what we were talking about earlier, if you're not doing well in those courses, make sure that you're seeking out those opportunities for help. Make sure that your teachers are aware, you need help with your classes, and just, seek them out. But, in those STEM level courses like engineering, architecture, even business, we're looking for a higher level math. I'm gonna give you a little hint right here. Take calculus. Some students like to take statistics because they think that it might replace calculus, but calculus is what's going to make you the most competitive in those areas. Also in the sciences, you're going to want to take your upper level physics and upper level chemistries. Again, if you're interested in something like architecture, physics is the one that you're going to want to take. But no matter, math, science, English, it doesn't really matter. Make sure, again, with academic rigor, you're taking the hardest levels of those classes that are available, and that you're doing well in those courses. And that's what's going to make you the most competitive at STEM schools over other applicants. All right, and then we'll have Janai Downing from Purdue. He'll go over resources outside the classroom, and thank you guys.
All right, thank you so much. I hope you guys can hear me. Everyone, thumbs up. You can hear me okay? Okay. All right, my name is Janiyah Downing. I work at Purdue University in West Lafayette, Indiana, beautiful Midwest, flat Indiana. So thank you guys for joining us today. I'm going to kind of start off my part of this presentation by turning on my timer because I am a talker. So I'm going to just go ahead and do that. And also I'm going to tell you a quick story about where I was when, or someone who helped me out so much when I was in your space. When I was in high school, and we're talking about resources outside of the classroom. So when I was in high school, I got a job at McDonald's because that's what you did. When you were in high school, typically you got a job in fast food, maybe at a mall, something like that. Never in my life did I aspire to own a McDonald's, to be a manager of McDonald's, nothing like that. That was never my long-term plan. If that is you, that's fine. That is amazing that you have that kind of foreshadowing already. But I met a young man after I had already gone through college and I was working at a college. I was talking to him like, hey, he was in high school. I was like, hey, so what do you do in your free time? He's like, well, I plan to be a banker one day. Like I plan to work on Wall Street and do finance. So I just got a job at Chase Bank. And he was like 16. And I remember my mind was blown in that moment because I didn't think as a 16-year-old you could work at a place like a Chase Bank. Or if you want to go into the medical field, you could work at a place like a hospital. I never crossed my mind. But after talking to him and reflecting on my own life, I realized that there's so much outside of the classroom that can help you to eventually get to the career you want. And we're talking about STEM today. So part of what I talk about will be kind of like doing things now outside of the classroom to help you guys prepare for when that day does come, when you do go to college and when you do go into that career, you feel a bit better prepared for it. Slide, please. So first off, I want to tell you, there are so many resources outside of the classroom that did not exist when I was younger. Things like Khan Academy. Like if your math at your high school doesn't feel as rigorous enough, or you feel like you're getting bored with it, just go over to Khan Academy. Tons of quizzes and virtual instruction to help you get stronger. Joining clubs like Science Olympiad, that's incredibly helpful. Teach Engineering, that's this entire online like platform with engineering activities, games, quizzes, projects you could be doing at home, all those things that you could be doing in your free time to help you kind of like learn about the engineering field way before you ever get into it. Girls Who Code, that's very self-explanatory, but if you're wondering, it's about young ladies getting into the STEM fields and coding, and they have clubs. Some of them are regional, some of them are in high schools. Great way for you to connect with other individuals who are very similar to you, who want to get into this whole coding thing. And I know some of you may be thinking like, oh, well, I want to go into this part of STEM, and that's not really necessary. Coding isn't really necessary for that. It is very difficult to find a STEM field where coding isn't some part of your experience, whether it be something that's foundational or something that can allow you to be more of a critical thinker in the area of STEM that you go into. So I would say everyone should at least have a baseline knowledge of some programming language. And then there's things like FIRST Robotics. We all have like these really cool ideas. FIRST Robotics allows you to actually create them, actually understand the electrical work and the circuitry and the building and the design that goes into many of the robots that we see every day. So these are just a few things you could be doing. Let's zoom in a little bit more. Let's say your aspiration is to work for a place like NASA, right? You want to be the first person on Mars. Good luck with that. It's going to be awesome. I know it's coming, but that's a little bit of ways away. But instead of getting that job at McDonald's or like Chick-fil-A, you got a local or regional airport, go there. Apply for a job. Even if you're working just like in the service industry there, you're seeing pilots, you're seeing the day-to-day operations of an airport. Maybe instead of, like just buying the next video game, which I totally copped to. I was such a gamer when I was younger. Maybe spending that money on a drone or some type of like unmanned aerial device that you can learn how to work and how to use to learn a little bit more about aerodynamics. I know many of you, if you're like me, you've seen all the Marvel movies. This is from Spider-Man Homecoming. He's got the academic decathlon coat on. Like he joined that team and he was like really smart. Clubs like that can be super helpful. At your school, if you have something like that, definitely join. It could be so helpful. Let's say you want to work for a Microsoft. You want to work for a Facebook. You want to work for a Google. Well, instead of getting that job again at McDonald's or Burger King, Best Buy. I know Best Buy doesn't seem like the place where everyone's going right now because we have Amazon, but a place like that will get you exposure to new computers, new software systems, new tablets, new smartphones, a lot of things that you have to learn about as a part of your job. And again, I'm going to go back to that programming languages and coding piece. It's very hard to work for a company like Microsoft if you don't know a couple of programming languages. That is as hard, it's as difficult to do that as it is to learn Spanish or French. Is another way for your mind to work and understand a language. So starting early can only help you. Next slide, please. So this is a place called Cirque Engineering. They're located in Colorado. And if you're thinking about like, oh, okay, I want to do engineering. Well, if you want to work for a company like this, joining something like a robotics team, if your school has one, or creating your own, maybe going to the hundreds, and I'm not kidding when I say this, hundreds of engineering camps and programs that exist at schools all over the country. At Purdue University, we have a number of engineering camps that many students can come to. Some of them have a cost, some of them are free. You can come to campus for a whole week and do projects and understand more about the engineering field. And also leadership is great. I put Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts down here, but practically any group that gives you leadership exposure, that is awesome. To be a leader of a team, to be a person who has to critically think on the fly, any community organization or anything like that can only help you. Next slide, please. I have a few last minute tips for everyone. As you kind of go through this, again, find those STEM camps at your local colleges. They're going to be so helpful. You can spend time binging YouTube for so many things. Why not throw in some STEM videos in there? I own a house, and almost everything I've built in my house is not because I went to college to learn how to do it. It's all because of YouTube videos. Find someone who works in the STEM field and interview them. Talk about their college choice and the career they went into, and then follow a STEM-related companies on social media. Many of you have, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok. All those companies that you may want to work for have social media presence. So follow them, and you'll start getting information about those things. Request STEM-related gifts for the holidays or your birthdays, kind of like that drone you saw earlier. You don't have to buy that yourself. Ask mom and dad to do it. And then visit websites like pathwaytoscience.org for a lot of tips and ideas on other things you can do to get that out of the classroom exposure to STEM fields. With that said, I'm going to pass it over to Mackenzie, and she'll talk to you about selecting the right university.
Thank you so much. Like you said, I'm Mackenzie. I am from Colorado School of Mines, so y'all are in my backyard right now. It's good to see you. And I'm talking about finding the right university and how you go through that process. And if you have any questions at all, I don't know if we mentioned this at the beginning, but feel free to put them in the chat. We have a time at the end to answer questions live, or you don't want to go live, you can chat them to us, and we're happy to answer those. But as far as finding the right university, I broke this down into a few different fits, because at Mines, we're a small STEM, are considering Mines that has 5,000 students, and they're also considering, let's say, like Texas A&M at 70,000 students. And so it's important to narrow it down based on what's important to you, and also thinking about it in terms of you and who you want to be, and not necessarily like the other things that other people talk about. It's very much like taking that time to figure out what's important to you, and that could be things such as university size. Consider undergraduate enrollment in terms of what you have access to, especially at the STEM level, because student-faculty ratio could speak to the percentage of faculty versus staff taught classes that you have, and if those faculty are doing STEM research on the side. So having a doctorate degree, as a professor, you're required to do research outside the classroom. That really adds to your experience in and out of the classroom and what you're learning. For average, there's a difference between an average first year class size and an average class size after that, so sophomore year and beyond. And so make sure to consider those two things. My favorite question to ask when I'm looking at universities is ask what the largest lecture hall size is. Sometimes it's not totally on average, and it really depends. Like mine's largest lecture class size is 200 students, which I was super surprised by, because at my undergraduate, I went to a big four-year school, and the largest class size I said it was economics, 600 students. And so it really depends on it determines the amount of hands-on experience you get with your faculty and with your staff, especially in a STEM degree. And then as far as student life, I think a lot of people are surprised finding out that schools that are heavily focused in STEM are also really fun, and that you're free to pursue those other areas outside of academics that you're passionate about, while being surrounded by others that are passionate about STEM with you. But that's not your entire life. Look at the clubs and organizations beyond academics. I know that a lot of students that I speak with, they love music and they thought about, well, I want to go to a school where I can get a STEM degree, but also get a minor in music. But music is one of the largest extracurricular activities we have at Mines, with over 12 ensembles. And so in that instance, you're able to get that experience and take a break from STEM while not necessarily having it as a minor. And then it also really builds on your community. Look at the location involvement beyond academics, such as community service. Proximity to the mountains is big for us here in Colorado. How long it takes for you to get home, how close they are to the airport. And then look at commuter versus residential schools. Residential schools are where students live on campus their first year and can live on campus after that if they want to, and see percentages of that because it really speaks to the nature of the university. And then I always encourage students to visit campus. If you're interested in learning more about student life and seeing if it's a good fit for you while being a STEM school, I always see students, they walk on campus and they just relax if they found their fit. Like they feel like they've found their people. And so it's really important to step on campus and look into those opportunities to see if it could be a good fit for you. Other things to consider are your academic opportunities. So this is how much access you can get to hands-on team-based learning in and out of the classroom in your STEM degree. I get asked a lot if a STEM degree is, sitting in a classroom, reading a textbook and regurgitating an exam, or listening to someone talk at you like us today. And you want to consider your options as far as what your best fit for learning is and what's going to make you employable upon graduation, what kind of education is going to make you competitive for that. So some of these examples are how soon you can start major specific coursework, what your required core courses and prerequisites are before one, if you can apply to the school, kind of like Virginia Tech was saying with, we would recommend calculus, but also in order to start your major specific coursework. And then if they have first year and undergraduate research opportunities, this is really big. This could look great on a resume and also lends to some of those employment opportunities later on. And then how they teach those classes, along with class size, like is it hands-on and team-based learning centric? Are you getting out into the world and learning by doing versus sitting in a classroom, and what the breakdown is of that? And then what is your access to student labs and maker spaces? Where can you do this hands-on team-based learning? And then look into faculty-led research opportunities that allow for internships for undergraduate students. This could be huge for getting that experience beyond the classroom. And then my number one thing I recommend to students when they're considering STEM as a major and looking at STEM specific universities is look at career outcomes. So we are not just in the business of making graduates. We're in the business of making employable graduates. That's our entire thing. If students aren't getting jobs in these fields and making the salary they intend to make, then we're not doing our part. And so I want you to ask these questions and overall utilize the university's career center website, or they may call it different things, but where they put their data on their graduates. If it's good college, they have data on what their graduates are up to and if they're being successful. So highly recommend taking a picture of this, asking questions such as what's the average first year starting salary? What's the positive outcome percentage? Which every university asks this. It asks, are you employed? Are you making the salary you intend to make? And do you think your education is safe for success in that position? And so seeing the percentage of students that are successful after graduation with that. And then breaking it down via program. Every university has a general graduation rate and job placement rate, but look at it for the majors you're considering, because it could vary depending if you're getting a business degree or an engineering degree or a science degree. Also, look at the career fair opportunities and that career center. I know the university that I went to, they had a career fair, but it wasn't geared towards my major. And so we look at if employers are coming to that career fair and hiring your major, the number of employers that are there, and if they offer the types of careers that you're looking for, and then what they're looking for outside the classroom too, kind of what Janai was saying about getting involved beyond that. And then look at best value college rankings. I think we typically utilize like US News and World Report for those things. I wouldn't stick to those as like not considering universities that are not as highly ranked on there, because there's so many things that could go into a best fit for you. But seeing what national rankings are for those universities can help determine if what you're feeling matches what the stats are saying. And that's all I have for you today. I'm going to turn it over to Rachel.
Thank you. Great. Well, I want to talk a little bit more about now that you've talked about what you should be doing to prepare for in high school and how to kind of narrow down your list as you're exploring your college options. what steps you can take to ensure that you are successful first year. Know that this is a goal as us as both admissions folks, but certainly on campus. We want to make sure that we are helping you find the right fit. So we have a lot of programs and different opportunities for students that I want to make sure that you all are aware of to seek out in your first year to make sure that you are successful. We want our students to come back their second year, their third, or fourth year, and get out in 4 years if they can. So I broke it into a couple of different slides, if you don't mind. The first is find your major fit. Some of you may know exactly what you want to study within the STEM world, and that's fantastic. Some of you may know that you like the math and sciences or you like engineering, but you don't know exactly what type. As you're exploring your college options, this is something to ask and to explore. But I like these, and this is certainly not an extensive list, but some of these might not come off the top of your head when you think of STEM, but they certainly still fall under that. I think a lot of folks think of engineering, certainly, but know that your options are not limited to just that. If your strengths are in math and sciences, there are so many avenues for you to explore. Many schools will help you do that too. So be sure as you're working through the application process, you know exactly what you want to get into. There's some schools that you can do just that. There's other schools where you can continue to explore your college and major options once you're on campus too. A couple of things that schools might have set up for you to do this would be through freshman seminars. So these are first year only classes that are intended for students to both build community with other first year students, but also intentionally help them explore some majors they're interested in, knock out those general education requirements in perhaps a more fun way. So physics of superheroes, or a way of chemistry of food and science. For those of you who do want to maybe explore food science, that's a nice way to just kind of see it, get to know other first year students and take care of that general education requirement right off the bat. Freshman seminars are in a variety of ways, not just within the STEM field, but did want to put that on your radar because they're only open to first year students and they often are some really, really unique and great options for you to explore your interests a little bit further. Also be sure to have open conversations with your academic advisors as you're exploring your interests. There's oftentimes career advisors that are there to help you find your major fit and then help you find jobs after you've graduated too. So be sure to utilize those, and many times students and through our orientation are going to be introduced to them. And then finally, as Mackenzie's touched on, is research. And a lot of institution research is available to first year students. So ask about that throughout the college admissions process. But if there's an area you're really interested in exploring further, many of your faculty members will be doing research already. And they're oftentimes looking for students to help out in their lab or explore a bit further. That can be a really nice way to dive into something you think you're interested in, or maybe explore an area you didn't even know existed, and really specialize your degree and get some great experience outside the classroom that's going to make you a really competitive applicant after you graduated. So if you're exploring majors, feel free, check out some big schools, check out some little schools, explore the curriculum, but know that a lot of schools, we're going to help you figure that out once you're on campus too. Another important piece is to find your support. I say this academically, personally, financially. We want to make sure students are a good fit. So this is just a very small list, and each institution is going to offer something different. But if you know you're looking for some sort of specific support, ask about that. But also if you don't, that's okay too. Get a list so you know what's out there. So you know who your academic advisors are. If you have specific career advisors, study abroad advisors, know who your resources are day one. Check out the study groups. A lot of, I know STEM majors or our engineering school put together study groups, especially for first year students as they're getting through some of that really tough and fundamental courses that all students need to take. Check out the tutoring options or writing centers. Sorry, let me go back one more. Thank you so much. Tutoring and writing centers. These can help you with creative writing essays or your lab reports. And then of course, career exploration too. The other side is just a small snippet of some more personal support that students might need, but check it out. We want to make sure that you're finding your community on campus too. Thank you, Mackenzie. And I'll go to the last slide. So the last thing I think is really important is making sure that you do find that community, whether that be academically, personally, professionally, and there's a lot of ways to do so. Again, through programs like orientation or welcome week programs, we're going to help you explore those. But check it out as you're getting into student groups there in high school, see if those are on college campuses or if we have something similar. On the slide, you'll see some examples of more STEM focused student organizations that are available at a lot of institutions. But again, this is certainly not extensive. Like we mentioned, many schools have over 900 student groups. So be sure to explore those options. It's a really nice way to make the campus maybe feel smaller and start to build some professional networking opportunities too. So student organizations, living learning communities, if you want to live around students who are all similar or sharing and studying something similar as you, that's a great way to, you'll find study groups pretty easily if you live in like an engineering house where every student is in calculus or physics. Explore mentorship programs too. This is sometimes with faculty, but sometimes it's with senior just to kind of help you get more familiar with campus and start building those connections. And then finally, of course, the student groups and organizations. So this is not an extensive list, but be sure to explore those. If you're looking for something specific on a college campus that you're doing in high school, ask the reps about it. But don't be afraid to step out of your box as well and explore some areas you never had before. You would be surprised where you might find community on campus too. So that is all we have for you right now in terms of just giving you some footing and how to start your college search process, what you can best do to prepare. But we want to also open it up for any questions that you all have, whether that be about majors, any of the resources we covered, any STEM focused programs that you maybe have want more information from. So feel free to throw any questions that you have in the chat, please.
And if there aren't any questions, I'll throw my email in here. Rachel, if y'all want to throw your emails in there as well, so they can reach out directly. For those that think of questions later, if you don't have questions, that's okay. We wanted to say thank you so much for coming today and hanging out with us all. It's been a pleasure. We're sad we couldn't do this in person, but I'm glad we get to share a little bit more about why we think STEM degrees are competitive. And why we support those students and how you could be successful in the future with those. Thank you again for joining us today. We'll see you at the next one. Bye.